Welcome to Synchronize Swatches, your twice-monthly dose of coolness. I'm your host, Chip Johnson.
And I'm the other guy, Chris Gregory.
Every other week, we watch an episode of the cult classic 90s sitcom, Parker Lewis Can't Lose, and then we record ourselves talking about it.
It's time for Operation Record the Podcast. Are you ready?
Hooah!
Gentlemen, synchronize swatches. Not a problem.
I've never liked you, Lewis.
Not a problem.
Eat now?
Clean out your locker, you're finished.
So, Hollywood Forever Cemetery, they do, during the summertime, they do Saturday night movies. So, like, they'll show, like, an old movie, and, you know, everybody just gathers in the cemetery, and they show it up on the big wall, and it's a big thing. It's been going for, like, 20 years here in LA. But I've never been, and, like, you know, it's kind of a rite of passage here in LA. But we couldn't get anybody coordinated, like with me being out of town, with her being out of town, with friends being out of town. The only time we could schedule was this past Saturday, and the movie that they were playing was Showgirls. Did you ever see Showgirls?
I never did, no.
Yeah. You know, it came out like 95. I think it was like the first film. I think it's the film that brought about the NC-17 rating.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Because it was like, okay, it's not really X, but it's way more than R, because there's a shit ton of nudity, you know, like full frontal, and, you know, and of course, you know, I think I went and saw it in the theater at some point, because it's like, oh, it's Jesse Spano, like, completely completely naked. Like, you know, complete, like, 180 from her character on Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, it had notoriety because of that. And it was like her first film role, and
and also I think at the time it was kind of agreed upon that it was like one of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah, I mean, I think it still kind of is.
Yeah,
like
it's got like it's had a resurgence in recent years.
Yes,
from what I understand, of like a reevaluation of it. So
it has, and actually, so she was there to like introduce the movie. And I guess like 10 years ago, which this was like the 30th anniversary, which is like makes me feel really fucking old. But I guess 10 years ago at the 20th anniversary, she showed up at the Cinespia, the Hollywood Cemetery showing. But I guess, it has had, I mean, it's like definitely like a cult favorite now. Like, I think people acknowledge that it's, you know, it's very flawed film, but people love it. I mean, it is a lot of fun to watch. It is just ridiculously over the top. Yeah. And one thing I didn't realize, I mean, it's directed by Paul Verhoeven, who did Total Recall, RoboCop, like all those movies. And I'm like, oh, that was him directing that? That's crazy. But then in that light, too, I'm like, okay, those are kind of like satirical. There's definitely a lot of over-the-top stuff in those films, like, you know, to make a point. And I was like, maybe that's the whole point of it. Like, his whole angle in this film, too, is just to be so over-the-top with this shit.
Yeah.
To paint the portrait of this world, you know, there in Vegas. But it was. But anyway, so that's what we did this weekend.
Yeah,
went and saw Showgirls in the.
I mean, was it a cool experience anyway?
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely. I mean, I'd love to go back, and you know, I would love to see. I think they do one around Halloween too. Usually do like a horror film, and I think it would be cool as shit to see. Like, I think they did Poltergeist one year. I think that would be cool to see. Okay. But yeah, it was fun.
Just wait until they're showing The Room. So just go see another fucking abysmal movie.
Exactly. Oh man,
that's great.
Yeah.
I went to Harbor Park this weekend, Friday night for a baseball game, because it was a company field trip, you know, with family, you know.
So that's cool.
Brought kids, and they'd never been to a baseball game before, so it was the first experience at a park, which. I mean, they enjoyed. I was kind of surprised. I was expecting to be there for like 3 innings, and then, you know, I'm bored.
Shit.
You know, but
it is baseball after all.
Hey, I like baseball. But it was funny because like I ended up getting bored before they did, because the game wasn't a great game. It was you know, whatever. It was pretty slow, and they've done a lot in recent years to try to make baseball move more quickly. You know, there's like a pitch clock and all this other stuff to keep the game going. But
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. But they still got to throw the ball over the plate, and there was just a lot of walks. So it was just kind of like, oh god. But Yeah, so my daughter kept trying. Her goal the entire time that she kept talking about was wanting to be on the Jumbotron, because I told her that turn the cameras towards the crowd. And they did this thing called the Simba cam, where everybody in the crowd holds their baby up in the air, like in The Lion King. And they featured them on the Jumbotron. And like in our group, there were, I want to say there were probably like 6 or 7 children ranging in age from like 4 months to like, we'll say 6, just young kids. And then my daughter's 11 and my son is 13. So like they brought up the Simba cam. Everybody picked up their children, just scooped her up and held her up in the air. And, I mean, it was like a minute and a half that they were doing that. And I was like, about 30 seconds into it, I was like, this was a mistake. She's 11 years old. She weighs what an 11-year-old weighs, which is not what a baby weighs. She's, whatever. She's a child. So, but still, I was just like, oh my God, but I can't stop because it's a joke. You gotta see it through to the end. So
did you succeed?
No, she didn't even get on the jumbo. Like, son of a...
All for naught.
Yeah. It's like the cameraman either didn't have a sense of humor or more likely didn't see her up there. So
yeah.
I'm like, that's a drag. Well, at least I got my upper body workout for the day.
Who are we to play God with the kid's life?
Today, we are here to discuss Season 1, Episode 19. I don't know why I made it sound like I was
You just got really
at
solemn.
a fucking funeral there.
Yeah.
Today, we're here to discuss the dearly departed Citizen Kube. Season 1, Episode 19, Citizen Kube. The German episode title is Armer Schlucker, which translates to poor bastard.
Well, I mean, that's a crazy title. Poor bastard. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, but it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Poor
And
bastard.
I think that was there may be other translations of it. I don't know I can't remember if that's the direct translation or not.
Oh, okay.
Or if that's one where I got a translation and that was the best fit.
Closest, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's an episode in like the 2nd or 3rd season where the German translation back into English has the word bitch in it. So I don't know.
yeah.
So anyway.
They don't give a shit about the cuss words over there, man.
Yeah, they sure don't.
In Europe.
Or the full frontal nudity.
Yeah. They get all the good stuff.
Yeah. They watch Showgirls like, meh.
Yeah. Like, we'll rate that a G.
Yeah. Take the kids. So for the episode synopsis this week, I decided to do something a little bit different and try to write what I would imagine if you were watching this show or watching commercials in the 80s or 90s and they were showing a preview of the episode. This is what it would sound like, I think.
Yeah.
So
this is good.
What happens when the insatiable eating machine Larry Kubiac becomes a millionaire and suddenly has access to anything and everything his heart and stomach desire? Sunday on Fox.
No, that was good. That's good.
Thanks.
That's exactly what that is. Or it's also like the TV guide blurb, Like
Yeah.
I feel like the TV guide blurbs are like that, just like
exactly.
a log line, really
Yeah.
short.
It was that that was the goal. It wasn't that I was just feeling lazy.
No, sure.
All right, so let's get into this. So for our opening gag, we're in the arcade, and we're watching different characters playing coin-op games from the perspective inside the screen, which is a pretty cool shot.
Yeah.
So you see like these little blips on the screen in front of us, between us and the characters while they're playing. So Parker and Mikey are playing, and a blonde girl passes by, and her presence draws Mikey away from the machine, which leaves Parker to fend for himself. Next, we see Parker and Kubiac playing, and of course you can't see all of Kube because he's so damn big. While he's playing along, he ends up accidentally ripping the joystick off the machine. Then we see Frank. Frank is enthusiastically firing at the screen, and after he clears the board, he looks very disappointed, and he laments that there's no more bunnies to kill.
I love the bunny sound effects too. Like they're like, like it's just a bizarre like fucking sound effects.
Yeah, the sound of a bunny's death throat.
Yeah.
So lastly, we watch a gathered crowd as they're cheering on Jerry. He's looking very intense here too. He's like bouncing around and stuff. It was great. But so he's using both joysticks, and he's racking up a record score. And then when he defeats his own record, he promptly faints back into the crowd. And I noticed when I was watching this that in the background, you can see all these coin-op machines back there. And it was a nice little taste of nostalgia there. I saw the arch rivals Galaga, Super Off-Road, and Smash TV behind them. It seems to change periodically, I guess. I saw
Yeah, the camera angles,
around
like they're all
stuff.
lined up. So like sometimes the camera's a little more to the right, a little more to the left, depending on their setup. And so sometimes you catch Smash TV over to the side, or you catch Galaga over the other side. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of cool arcade games in there.
I used to love playing Arch Rivals in the arcade and on the NES.
Yeah.
That was the one where you played 2-on-2, pick up basketball, and you could punch each other and stuff.
Yes. No, I'd love that one. I think I only played it in the arcade. I don't think I ever actually played it on Nintendo, but I definitely played it in the arcade, yeah.
I felt like that kind of predated, I mean, it predated NBA Jam, but it was like the precursor to it, because, you know, in that game you could do the same shit, and it was 2-on-2 with real players or whatever. But anyway, so we open on the Santo Domingo Quad. And Parker's explaining in voiceover that while things may look peaceful from up here, the school is under attack by a relentless eating machine. And I did want to make a note here that I noticed that it's overcast outside, and there's water on the ground. It's clear that they're shooting on a rainy day, but there are very few points in this episode where it's ever addressed. You know, like I think they're trying to imply that it's a nice California day, but it just looks.
Yes.
Every single scene just looks like dreary and overcast. Yes. It was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it's totally not California. Yeah. Like it doesn't have the California vibes in this episode.
Yeah. So we cut into the lunchroom, and we're panning across a series of students who are holding up their lunch bags, and they all look confounded because the bottoms of the bags are gone. And they're all completely empty. I love the looks on their faces. They're like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Because they're very precisely cut out, too. They're not like torn into, but... Parker continues on that the students have dubbed the culprit the Stealth Eater. And the last student in this sequence, he's got a banana and he unpeels it and there's no fruit inside. It's just the peel.
I love this gag. It's probably one of my favorite gags in this episode. It's just because, I mean, they did a great job of it. It looks like a banana, but then you peel it and there's nothing in there.
Yeah.
So good.
Good prop. Now we're in Miss Musso's office. And for whatever reason, she's concluded that Parker Lewis must be the culprit. I feel like as soon as they said Stealth Eater, I was like, it's
everybody knows. I mean, come on, guys.
It's Kubiac, for God's sake. Why would he do this? It doesn't make any sense. So
everybody in this school should know this.
Yeah.
There's no mystery.
Yeah, none whatsoever. But she claims that they have evidence. So then Frank produces the evidence. And it's a Tupperware container from Parker's locker that Frank says is filled with rice pudding with raisins. And he pops the top off, and Miss Musso kind of curls her nose. And then she demands an explanation from Parker. And meanwhile, in the background, Frank just like sinks a spoon into this and gets this like really liberal spoonful of this shit, of the pudding, takes a bite. And Parker explains that the tub contains his fungus experiment, which I made a note here. He really loves fungus.
He does a lot of fungus experiments.
Got to be the third fungus experiment he's done so far. But this causes Frank to retch. He's so grossed out. And so we're outside the office. The door swings open on its own and the glass shatters. So there's our glass breaking event. And here we're able to see that Mikey and Jerry were also in the office, which I didn't see any indication of before that.
No, because they were tight on Parker and then tight on Musso and Frank. There was actually no establishing shot that set up that those guys were in there too. It was a surprise. Yeah.
So Miss Musso throws all of them out. And then she unceremoniously relieves Frank of his duties as special obedience helper.
I've reached the conclusion that you're not cut out to be my special obedience helper. Sure, you have initiative. Sure, you have ruthlessness. But you lack something critical.
What's that, Miss Musso?
Everything else.
And this is the second episode in a row, I think, that this has happened. She's just in the mood to fire Frank these days.
I know.
He's constantly groveling for his job back.
He's just hanging on by a thread, man.
Yeah. If he wasn't so fucking incompetent, I mean, what the hell, man? Who just blindly takes a bite of something they don't know what it is?
Yeah, exactly.
Just Larry. So we're in the hallway, and Jerry informs Parker and Mikey that the sheer volume of food that the Stealth Eater has consumed rivals that of an emerging nation. The buds reached the same conclusion that I feel like I reached the moment they said food was mysteriously disappearing.
Exactly.
And we cut to the outside, and we see Larry Kubiac, and he stood behind a tree, holding a fishing pole and dressed for angling. Parker explains in VO that when Larry's... I'm laughing at my own stupid joke that I wrote here. When Larry's tumble makes a rumble, food goes from nutrition to sport. Kubiac casts his line out, and it snags a pizza box right out of the hands of a delivery guy who's delivering it to the school for whatever reason. And he reels it in, whips it open and takes a big giant bite out of a slice. So we're back in the hallway, and Miss Musso announces over our good old loudspeaker that she's accepting applications for special obedience helper, and that anyone who isn't Frank Lemmer may apply. Yeah, it's again savage. Really to drive the point home there.
Yeah.
So back outside, the buds confront Kubiac, and they accuse him of being the stealth eater. Larry denies this, claiming to be practicing his fly fishing techniques. And just then there's a tug on his line, and he reels in a live sheep. There's a live sheep.
Live fucking sheep.
Yeah, and when it approaches, he like licks his lips. It's so weird. But Parker tells him he can't eat the sheep. And Larry reluctantly agrees, admitting that the wool gets caught in his throat. I think I kind of gagged a little bit when he said that. It's so gross. Like, oh, God. Actually,
he's just eating the sheep whole.
Yeah. I'll say that there's this feeling I get sometimes, like when I'm watching a show or something that's like I got it in this episode where like the one person is just consuming so much stuff, even though he's not actually consuming it, obviously, but the sheer volume of food and non-food that's being consumed, it gets, I feel like I'm full, like I feel like I'm too full, like bloated and shit. It's like empathy bloat.
Yeah, I was about to say.
It's just like, man, it's just because, just because he just keeps eating stuff. He took a bite of the pizza, and then, it's happened a few times on this show, actually, with him.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because he's just constantly stuffing
so
things
much food.
out. Yeah. So anyway, so he frees the sheep and lets it go. And he admits to being the stealth eater. It's like, okay,
no
cool.
shit.
Yeah, no kidding.
I couldn't help it. I've just been so hungry ever since the smorgasbord went bankrupt and I lost my job.
Wait, that place was a gold mine. What happened?
Lunch.
But why do you have to snag other people's food? What about your allowance?
Well, I had to make a choice. It was either buy clothes, buy food, or renew my subscription to Field and Heifer magazine.
And I like that they played like a sexy saxophone and a cow moo when the centerfold dropped. That's so funny.
It's such a great gag.
That's nasty. So the buds then promise to raid their family kitchens to bring in a week's supply of food if he can just hold out until the next day. And he reluctantly agrees to this. So I guess he's just not going to eat the rest of the day or something. He's just going to wait until the next day. So, well, he says he's not going to eat the rest of the day.
Oh, yeah, but we'll see.
Then we cut to an outdoor restaurant, and a very 80s looking couple with the guy's wearing a very 80s looking sweater.
Yeah.
Are seated at an outdoor fine dining restaurant in the middle of the day, preparing to tuck into a lobster dinner. When suddenly the man's lobster is lifted off his plate and into the air. And from above, we see 80s guy looking really upset, and Kubiac is above them on this elevated walkway, and he's reeling in the lobster from up there.
Man, Larry loves some lobster, dude, because he's got the bib on again and everything.
Yeah,
he's got the lobster bib on again.
Yeah. I forgot about the bib. That's great. The 80s guy summons these two security officers. I don't know why they're security officers at this place, but he summons two security officers, and they race upstairs in pursuit of Kubiac. He flees through this door to his right, and it's funny because the security guards follow him in, and then he emerges from a door on the other side of the screen. Yeah, very Three Stooges style.
Yep.
Yeah, and then he beats a hasty retreat. And he emerges from an alleyway to catch his breath, and leans against this vending machine. And then he starts sniffing the air. And he turns and sees a single Baby Ruth bar in the machine.
Yeah. It's the only thing in the machine, just one single fucking candy bar.
Yeah, and if I'm not wrong, it's like horizontally oriented too. It's not like standing upright or anything.
Yeah.
It's weird how it's in there, but
yeah.
So he pulls a quarter out of his pocket, and I made a note here, damn inflation. Like he could get a fucking Baby Ruth for a quarter.
Oh, man.
But then this voice calls out to him from off screen, and this kind of rough-looking guy is on a payphone, and he asks him if he can use the quarter to make a phone call.
Hey, man, slide me a quarter. It's a matter of life and death.
But it's my last one, and I've had it since I was 11.
I lost my wallet, and I gotta make a call. Come on, man, be human.
Rough-looking dude is played by Tammy Down, the lead singer of the metal band. I guess they're a metal band, right?
Yeah, like hair metal, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of glam rock hair metal, that late 80s kind of rock stuff, yeah.
So yeah, he's the lead singer of Faster Pussycat, the late 80s hair metal band, as we decided to define them.
Classify them.
Yeah. So he's kind of dressed like a beggar. I mean, he looks like, he
looks a bit homeless.
Yeah, he reminded me of like the trope of like a homeless veteran type or whatever.
Totally, because he's got he's got the kind of fatigues on or something.
Yeah.
And a bandana, like, holding his hair back or whatever.
Yeah. So, Kube's very reluctant to hand over his quarter because, I mean, there's a Baby Ruth bar there,
Yeah, I mean, shit.
So Larry consults his rumbling stomach, and then he finally decides to be a human, and he hands over the quarter. And the beggar thanks him and promises to pay him back. So we're back at Santo Domingo, or outside, and the Buds are back with arms full of groceries. So Kubiac sits down, and then we get a POV shift to where we're looking at it from his perspective, looking at them. And they proceed to feed the food to him. And whenever they feed something to him, we hear this wood chipper sound effect as he buzzsaws his way through the food. It's a great sequence.
It's a great gag. But also I love, like, before the Buds even show up, we cut to the quad or whatever, and we're tight on Larry, and he's standing near a tree, and there's like leaves hanging down, and he just like starts eating the leaves off the fucking tree like a goddamn giraffe.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. He looks like a giraffe, like just standing up and taking a bite of these fucking leaves. He's so hungry.
He's so fucking hungry. He's just fucking eating the leaves off the tree.
Yeah, that's a great shot. I forgot to put that in here. Yeah, so at the end of this sequence, Jerry produces a watermelon, and it looks like he pulled it from his coat.
Yeah, I think so.
May have, I don't know. And he slips that into Kube's maw. Kubiac expresses his gratitude by pelting them with a barrage of watermelon seeds. And then you get all these ricochet sound effects like bullets firing at them.
Yeah.
And when the camera flips back around to Larry, he's seated, satisfied, with chocolate all around his mouth. And the Buds pat him on the back. And then suddenly, a vehicle approaches. And out steps Ryan Stiles, the improv comedian Ryan Stiles from the Drew Carey Show. And whose line is it anyway?
Uncredited here, though, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, and I was going to say I don't think he got a credit on here. This was between. I don't know what he would have if he would have been known for much at the time. Before. I don't want to cast aspersions here or anything. But I know like Drew Carey was a couple years after this.
Yeah,
and he was probably on Whose Line in Europe at the time. So I don't know.
Oh, was he on the Europe version too?
Yeah. He was
I
on
didn't
there
know that.
too. Yeah. So anyway, Ryan Stiles steps out of this vehicle, and he has a cadre of cameramen with him. He informs Kubiac in this very over-the-top way that when he resubscribed to Field and Heifer magazine, he was automatically entered into the publisher's sweepstakes. Kubiac is presented with an oversized check and the news that he has won $2 million. And Larry asks if he's a millionaire, and Ryan Stiles says, ×2. And they all pose
was great.
Yeah. Like I said, he's just way over the top.
Yeah.
It's funny, like when he's telling him all this stuff, the shot is like right in his face.
Super
It's almost
wide.
like fisheye, It's got that weird distorting,
Yeah.
So they all pose for photos as we mosaic to commercial. So when we come back, we're in the middle of a segment on this show. It's kind of like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, but it's called Portraits of the Big and Wealthy.
And I have a note here. It was hosted by Jean Wolfe, and she's playing herself. But like, I wasn't really familiar with who she was, but I guess she was like a pretty famous journalist at the time.
Okay.
I mean, I think she still is. She's still around.
Okay.
But I also wondered, I was like, did she ever host any shows like that? I mean, because who was it? Robin Leach that did Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous usually?
Yeah.
I feel like they may have had some other hosts at times too, but I was wondering, like, I wonder why they picked her to do this faux
I don't know.
lifestyle show, but
I wonder if she did.
She does a good job, though.
Like a news magazine type thing or something.
Yeah. Well, I think she did. She was on like Entertainment Tonight at some point.
Okay.
So I mean, I guess it kind of tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Robin Leach primarily from that show.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, I put a little note in here. If it was early when I wrote this, so I was a little irritated. But when I saw it, I was like, I fucking hated that show, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because I fucking hate that kind of 80s wealth porn, it just always got under my skin, even when I was a kid,
Yeah.
Even watching this thing, it just rubbed me the wrong way, because I was like, I fucking hate these shows.
Yes.
Anyway, I'll pull myself out of my malaise here. So the shot is interesting because we're at the front of the limo, and like grubby Kubiac climbs into the limo on one side. And when he comes out on the other side, he's looking quite dapper. And as she's doing voiceover, we learn that he owns a Ponderosa now and a bottling facility, and he enjoys spending his free time with celebrity friends like Dom DeLuise. I feel like this was right in the prime time to make a crack about hanging out with their celebrity friend Dom DeLuise.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why. He's funny too, because like at that time, I think he was hosting like Candid Camera or something. Like I remember watching.
Oh yeah,
Candid Camera with Dom DeLuise back then.
Yep.
Anyway. Okay, so Gene Wolfe refers to Kube as a girthy, giving gorilla. And we see him breaking ground on the Larry Kubiac wing of the International Pizza Museum. And it's funny because if you look at the sign that's there announcing what's coming, Larry's misspelled with the little R.
Of course.
Yeah.
Just like
his lunch bag. Yeah, just like the lunch bag. So in the final sequence, we see Kubiac standing there, and he's presented with a piece of ham on a tray by this server, and he approves of this. And the camera pulls back to reveal an extremely long line of servers holding trays for him to review with all kinds of different food, like, spaghetti and burgers and all this other stuff.
Shit ton of food.
Francis Lawrence Kubiac III, one beluga-sized bad boy who's making all his corn dog wishes and Malamar dreams come true.
Oh, man. All right, so we're in the hallway. And Dapper Larry is walking with Frank, who's dressed as a chauffeur. I guess he's Kubiac's chauffeur at this point. Larry's hired him.
Yeah.
So anyway, Frank is thanking Larry for hiring him and giving him the opportunity to be helpful. And looking pleased, Kubiac stops and states, "Eat now." So Frank whips out this stylish tin and produces a fish from it, and he feeds Kubiac the fish. And in voiceover, Parker explains that with his sudden wealth, Kubiac is discovering friends he never knew he had. And then this large crowd gathers around Kubiac in the hallway, and Shelley's one of them, and she tells him he looks great. And Larry looks genuinely appreciative, and then he hands her $100. And then Badge approaches, and he invites him to be the guest of honor at a party at his house, and Larry is touched, and he gives him $100. I like the way he says it, too. He's like, have $100 or something.
Yeah, have $100.
So then he just starts handing out hundreds to everybody.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Have $100. Here's $100. Here's $100. Parker says that Kube is still the same simple-minded, good-hearted galoot he's always been. Everyone is happy, and the sheep are ecstatic. And we see that the sheep, I assume from before, go running down the hallway. Which I put a note here, like, why is the sheep at Santo Domingo in the first place?
I know.
Weird. Must be Mr. Loopman's or something.
Right, escape from Loopman's class.
Yeah. So we cut to Larry's limo, which is like a open top limousine, and he's got a pool in the middle of it. I think Frank's actually just finishing up filling it. He's like withdrawing a hose or something.
Garden
like
hose,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is another time when it's like the weather was kind of bone in production, because they actually, I think if it had been sunny out, I mean, obviously it would have been, the scene would look better. But they would have had this limo out in the parking lot or something, or outside of school. But they actually, for this scene, they have it pulled under like the not the awning,
or
but
whatever.
the canopy, where like they, like there's an outdoor lunch area where there's, benches and chairs usually, and so it's like where you would eat lunch outside, but it's covered. So they have the limo pulled up in that area, like under that canopy.
Yeah, it definitely had those like it's raining outside vibes, or like it almost seemed like later in the day or something.
Yeah,
like in the evening, because it was
again
so
just
dark.
that dreary look that like it would have played so much better. A hot tub limo with bikini clad babes in it, like in the shining sun, would have been a lot better. Unfortunately,
yeah, definitely. Because Kube's in the tub and he's got there's four girls in bikinis in there with him.
Yeah.
And Parker tells Kube he looks really relaxed, and Kubiac appreciates that, and he promptly offers Parker a waterlogged $100 bill.
Pulls it out of the hot tub.
$100. Yeah, it's funny. While they're talking, you can actually see Jerry down there, like peering into the window underwater with his eyes like super wide open. Like, look at fucking Jerry over here. That's funny as hell. Yeah, so Parker expresses some concern for Larry and his newfound wealth, and Kubiac tells him not to worry. His days of hunger are over. And he demonstrates by asking one of the girls to shrimp me, and he's presented a tray of cocktail shrimp. And then Frank arrives with Kubiac's new lunch organizer, which is it's like an oversized, stylized brown lunch bag. And he opens it to reveal this bisected container with a hot side and a cold side.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a mini fridge, but it's divided with the hot side and the cold side. And Lemmer says something like, to keep the hot side hot and the cold side cold.
Yeah.
That's a reference to McDonald's McDLT. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Which
that's right.
they came in these separate, it was a single container, but it had 2 separate compartments.
Yeah.
And so the hot stuff, like the meat and the bun were on this side, and then like the lettuce and tomato on the other side. And the commercial for that actually was like, this is mid 80s, but it was like a really early Jason Alexander appearance.
That's right.
George Costanza.
Yeah.
It's probably one of his first gigs. He did that.
Yeah.
Because he's just dancing through the streets singing this song. Keeps the hot side hot and the cold side cold.
Yeah. It's funny to think about a time too where where McDonald's spent any effort whatsoever trying to keep their stuff fresh.
Yeah.
Instead of just mashing into a blob and throwing it in your bag.
I know.
It's funny.
Back when they made an effort.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, so Kubiac responds, hot dog, and then the bikini girl presents him with a tray of hot dogs.
Yeah, it's great.
Funny.
And he's like, no, okay.
Yeah, he just takes one anyway. Yeah. So Parker tells Kube he needs someone to handle his finances and help him avoid being taken advantage of. And he quickly glances over at Lemmer to drive home the point. Kubiac considers this and then agrees, proposing that they shake on it. And he's then presented with a milkshake by one of the girls.
Which he gladly takes. And
I was going to say, that one he doesn't even hesitate. He's okie doke. Yeah, so then we have this very quick scene that is wedged in here, I feel like. Because later in the episode, there's an extended version of the same kind of scene. It felt weird that this very short one was put here. But we're in Miss Musso's office here. And she's conducting interviews to replace Frank. And in this one, we only see one interview, the first applicant, and it's Shelley Lewis. And she says she's always had a, quote, burning desire to betray those she loves.
And Miss Musso seems very pleased with it. She makes some notes.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I mean, I didn't even remember it being separate from the rest because in my notes I wrote she's conducting carousel interviews because I was expecting the next one to, be right after that. But anyway.
Yeah, but there's a scene cut in between it.
Yeah.
Or a couple scenes cut in between. Yeah.
Right. So, in the hallway, Parker's on the phone with someone trying to get a hold of Kubiac.
And I made a note here, it's a very early cell phone, but it's not one of those giant fucking Zach Morris toaster-sized fucking cell phones. It's like a very sleek, very small, for that time period. I mean, even for now, it was it's kind of the size of an iPhone now. And I was like, that's really strange.
It had a flip out part too, right?
So it was it was like a very sleek phone, cell phone for the time. You don't get a good look at it because he's got his face turned away from camera kind of, but you catch a glimpse of it. I'm like, that's pretty small for 91 or whatever this was.
I think the first time the first time my family had cell phones that I would, borrow occasionally, like when we used to hang out on a weekend or whatever, was probably the same size, same height and width, but not the same thickness, obviously, as a modern phone. But it had the little flip down mouthpiece, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it made it a little more compact.
Yeah. That kind of reminded me of that. But so he's on the phone. Mikey's down the hallway, and he's surrounded by women of varying ages, and they're all vying for Kubiac's affection. He informs them that Larry is not interested in marriage at this time. And then we cut to Jerry, who's seated at a desk, like an old-fashioned accounting, with old-fashioned accounting accoutrement around him. Yeah. He's wielding a feather pen. It's very strange. It's weird that he's at a desk like that he has a feather pen. And then he's on a phone that looks like something from an episode of Lassie.
Yes. It's that old school phone.
Fucking thing from the 40s or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's explaining to the operator that Mr. Kubiac is not going to accept a collect call from Donald Trump. And my note here is, see, kids, he's always been a fucking clown and the ass of the joke.
Always.
So, yeah, always. That's, that's not something that was created because people hate Donald Trump now. Yeah. It's always been the case that he's been the butt of the joke. Yeah. After that sequence, we're in the hallway outside of a party, and Frank's working the door. And the line is enormous, and the beggar from earlier approaches, and Frank stops him and when he tries to go inside. And he tells him to get to the back of the line. And he protests, but Frank tells him to take a hike. And so inside the party, there's this disco ball, and servers are walking around with trays of hot dogs because that's what you want to eat when you're partying and dancing.
Yes. And it wasn't just hot dogs. It was like a giant, like it was a full-size hot dog, but it was like a pig in a blanket. You know, usually they're little mini wieners that are wrapped in like a croissant dough or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, pigs in a blanket. But it was like a full-size pig in a blanket because they used real fucking hot dogs.
Yeah. Those are Kube-style pigs in blankets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so as we pan around, we see Shelley's out there dancing. Our old buddy Conrad Fleck is back, and he's dancing. Kubiac's in the corner, and he's dressed like Hugh Hefner. got the smoking jacket on and shit.
Yep.
And then there's a scene in Kubiac's office, which I presume took place earlier, just because of the sequence of events. So in this scene, he's at his office. He's seated at this large desk, and Parker's standing behind him. It's very much like a Godfather scene.
Totally Godfather.
Yeah. So he's approached by Badge, who asks if he can get Metallica to play his pool party. And Kubiac nods in approval in a very Don Corleone style.
Yes.
So then Shelley comes in, and she holds out a pillowcase and asks him to fill her up. And then Conrad Fleck slides in and asks Kubiac if he'll buy him a personality, which Larry agrees to. And then the last person to talk to him is Miss Musso. And she asks for $5,000 for new library books. And so he initially says no, and she starts to get a little worked up, and then he says, but then he commits to $10,000.
Yeah.
And she's pleased by this. And this is why I was thinking this might be earlier, because then we cut back to the party and Miss Musso's there dancing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I assume that, she went straight there from that. But anyway, so Miss Musso's dancing, the party's continuing, and then Jerry bursts into the room. And he sneaks over and he warns Parker that while he has Kubiac's budget under control, he discovered a slew of hidden expenses.
Such as? You've heard of Hershey, Pennsylvania? Mr. Kubiac just bought it. He also bought the Keebler Elves, the San Diego Chicken, and Julia Child.
Jerry, keep it down. We don't want to create a panic. What's the bottom line?
The bottom line? At 3 o'clock, Mr. Kubiac's millions are gone. He'll be completely broke.
Everything suddenly stops, and Jerry lets loose an eek, and Kubiac says, "You mean I'm broke?" And I made a note that we get a little peekaboo from the boom mic there, which may be what you were talking about before. It's towards the edge of the screen, so
you probably didn't see it on the original airing because of the safe zone, but now we see everything.
We've seen everything. So Jerry nods in confirmation, and the camera pulls out, and Kubiac's clothes are whipped off of him.
I love that gag.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I liked it too because, I appreciate things like this. I could see the string, like when they were panning out, you could see the string. Yeah. But I was like, oh, his clothes are about to go.
Yeah.
It's just whoosh, and he's just standing there in his underwear with only the best buds remaining. And I made a note that I wish there had been a way to get him in a barrel too.
Right.
Funny.
Like just drop a barrel on him from up above or something. That would be great.
You don't have to explain how he got there. It's Parker Lewis.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the commercial break too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So we come back. We're in the hallway, and Kubiac's leaning against his locker, and he sheds a tear for his special lunch organizer because it's being crated up in front of him. The buds approach, and they apologize to Kubiac for the fact that this happened to him. And he says he went a fish stick too far. Jerry says he's crunched the numbers, and after all the bills are paid, he'll be left with $22. And he hands the paperwork to Kubiac, but it is snatched away by a hand from off screen. And our old buddy Wesley Mann is back.
Yeah.
No longer working for the school board, apparently, because he introduces himself as a representative from the Santo Domingo Bank. I really like the way he speaks, too. I like both of his appearances. Just the way he talks is just it's very monotone, but also like slightly aggressive.
Yeah, and he's another one of those that knows how to use that wide angle lens in his face to his favor. Like he knows how to use it and make it work for a comedic effect. It's great.
Yeah, Wesley Mann knows how to work it. All right. On that note, Kubiac's check for $10,000 for the library books has bounced, and they are taking the $22 as a down payment on the rest, which is due by noon on Friday. Failure to pay will land Larry in court.
So actually, I have a question about this.
Okay.
God, who knows when the last time I wrote a frickin' check was, but like when you bounce a check, so he wrote a check to the school or the library, right? But it bounced. So the bank's going to charge him a fee for the bounce, but they don't go ahead and process the money anyways, right?
Right. Yeah, they don't.
No. So I was like,
maybe that's how his bank worked. I don't know. Maybe
They're like, we already sent the money, but now you owe us.
Yeah, it's like he has really, they've got like bad check protection or something.
Yeah. Like, we went ahead and paid it for you, but now you owe us.
Yeah, you just assume be like, hey, don't pay it, man.
Yes,
fuck it. They don't get their books.
Yeah,
because if they hadn't done that, then it wouldn't matter. It's like,
right.
Oh well, his check bounced. So what? You know?
So what? He just pays a $10 or $20 check bounce fee or whatever, and he's gone. But...
Yeah, he does need help, man. He's got the worst bank.
Yeah, I know. They're just fucking taking advantage of him. And
big beluga. What the fuck?
Poor guy. Poor bastard.
I know, poor bastard. Exactly.
It makes sense now.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kubiac feels doomed, obviously. But the buds decide to help him raise the money. They synchronize swatches as Parker announces Operation Bailout. So their first idea, which is a bad one, is to have a bake sale. And
Come on, guys.
I know. It's just like the thing earlier with nobody knowing who the fucking stealth eater was. Like, did you guys just meet Larry? What the fuck? You just fed him your family's food for a week.
And you're going to try to have a bake sale with him.
Oh, and have him there? So we pan down from this banner on the wall that says Kube's Bake Sale, and we find Parker and Mikey seated at a table that is littered with empty Tupperware. And Kubiac is seated between them, having clearly gotten high in his own supply.
Yes, just decimated like fucking 100 pies.
So then we cut to a telethon, and there's a bunch of bored students sitting beside silent phones on the table. Parker and Mikey pace about looking dejected. Jerry's operating a camera and filming Larry dancing a jig on screen. And he's got a big board behind him. It says, "Save the Kube," and the dollar figure is 0.
Yes.
Not a single fucking person has even donated $1 to this man.
Poor
Crazy.
bastard.
Poor bastard. So then the next idea is a car wash. And despite the fact that it has obviously been raining throughout this episode, the buds set up a car wash. And we pan down from the worn out and weathered banner to find the buds washing a car in the middle of a fucking monsoon. It is downpouring.
Yeah.
I don't know if they lucked into that or if they're just like...
or they had to supplement it with the rain machines, yeah.
Yeah, so not a good plan. Now we're back in Miss Moose's office for a continuation of the previous scene. Badge is seated in here, and he's interviewing for Frank's old position. And he says he's motivated by the prospect for real-world business experience, but then asks if he'll get to bust some heads. And then the next contender is Conrad Fleck. This is a great Conrad Fleck badge-heavy episode.
Yeah, I know.
These guys are in
Get
a
some
lot
good
of
appearances
scenes.
by these guys.
Yeah. He's explaining his disciplinary philosophy of sensitivity and care. And Miss Musso cuts him off, shouting, "Next!" I like Conrad's philosophy, but he's the wrong place, buddy.
Yes.
So the final applicant, it's Frank sitting there dressed as a yokel in thick-rimmed glasses and a trapper hat.
I feel that the qualities I can bring to this post are initiative and ruthlessness and, just be good, that's all.
Nice try, Frank.
It's a great costume that he's got on. I just fucking love it. But I'm also like, what is he... Do you know what he was holding?
No.
Was it like a log? It was like this little teeny log or something. I was like, I don't think it's a log, but it kind of looks like a log. But it's got this weird, like, circular cut in the front of it. And I'm like, what the fuck is he holding? I really want to know.
You watched Twin Peaks the night before. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in
I mean, that's what it made me think of, the log lady. But it's not like, like the log lady, it's like obviously a log.
Right, yeah.
But this thing is like, it's maybe 6 inches long. Yeah. It's probably, maybe like 4 inches in diameter. It's kind of like a small log, but then, and it kind of looks like wood, but then, like I say, there's a weird circular like cutout in the front of it. And I'm like, I just don't understand what this thing is. Like, I really want to know.
I just have to drop in a still frame of it here.
Yeah, maybe somebody can identify what the hell that was.
Or we'll go back as soon as we're done and see it and be like, oh, it's obviously that.
Yeah.
It's obviously this. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Frank just gives up halfway through and basically is like, give me my job back or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's had enough of his bullshit. So we cut to Parker Central. Mikey and Jerry are kind of sitting there, bemoaning the situation. And Parker just pops up behind them and suggests that Kubiac's generosity is what got him into this mess in the first place. So they're going to call upon the generosity of the students of Santo Domingo to help him get out of it. The next scene, I think, is in the cafetorium.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so The banner's on the wall still. It's completely beaten down at this point.
Yes.
It's announcing the Save the Kube auction. The students have brought in their priceless possessions to raise money for Larry. They brought in some pretty priceless shit.
Yeah.
Mikey brought in his autographed Eric Clapton Stratocaster.
Man.
Like, who's gonna got the money to buy that, man?
Yeah, I know. What high schooler has the money to buy that?
Yeah. And then Jerry amazingly is auctioning off his jacket. And there's some extremely detailed schematics on display that all these dorks are like.
Yes.
All these dorks over there looking at.
It's like blueprints, and if you look closely too, you see like some refrigeration unit stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, which we know because he keeps yogurt in there and shit.
Yeah.
But it's really cool if you pause it and look at all the stuff on that schematic.
Yeah.
Of how the jacket works.
Yeah. I like that you paused and looked at the schematic of this jacket and all the funny jokes, and I got hung up on the fact that one of the students is holding a paddle that says 69 on it. That's what I remember from the scene. I was like, nice.
Because we're still 15-year-olds at heart.
Yeah. That's just, I immediately clocked that, and I was like, So Mikey asks Parker what he has brought in to sell, and Parker produces a rolling rack full of his signature shirts. So Larry arrives, and he asks what's going on. And they tell him they're just selling off a few things to help raise money.
But, Parker, your shirts? Mikey, your guitar? Jerry, your jacket?
No auction. You three, sit.
This isn't the way it's supposed to be. When I was out of work and hungry, I thought money would solve all my problems. Yeah, right. Instead, all it did was bring on a bunch of bigger problems. And the worst part is I dragged you guys down with me. Having lots of money is a real drag.
Hey, you're right. Who needs it?
I mean, you can't eat it, right?
We just wanted to help.
I know. But selling all your stuff's not gonna make me happy.
Yeah, but it might keep you out of jail.
Jail's probably not so bad.
Yeah. I hear you get 3 meals a day.
Only 3? Oh, Lord.
I love the way you read that line, too.
Yes.
It's so funny. So just then, Wesley Mann arrives to collect. Kubiac prepares to face the music when he's called out to from off camera. Tammy Down from earlier arrives, looking a lot more put together. And Parker immediately recognizes him and name checks him. He tells Kubiac he's been searching for him for days to pay him back the quarter he owes him. And Kubiac thanks him, a little disappointed, until Tammy informs him that the repayment comes with interest. Whatever Kubiac needs, I'll cover it. He tells Kubiac that if he hadn't loaned him that quarter, he couldn't have made that call to schedule that multi-million-dollar tour. I love that he was doing that from a payphone on the street.
And he couldn't afford to make the fucking call.
Didn't have any fucking change on him. Completely unprepared to make this phone call to schedule a multi-million-dollar tour.
That changes the trajectory of his life.
Yeah, exactly. Rock stars are not planners. Planning shit ain't rock and roll, man.
No. Shit.
Yeah. But paying people back, though, is.
Yes.
Paying people back is rock and roll, everybody. All right. So Kube smiles.
With interest.
With interest, yeah. That's the rock and roll part. Kube smiles and tells him he doesn't know him or his music, but he's feeling pretty close to him right now. And then he gathers Tammy down up into a big hug. And you can hear his back cracking.
Yeah.
He lifts him up. Before Kubiac sets him down, he spins him around and gives him a little push. And he goes walking out of the scene like holding his back. It's pretty funny. Yeah. So we cut to the hallway now, and Miss Musso is walking the halls alone. And as she's walking along, she kind of stops and looks around suspiciously. And then she continues walking, but she grows suspicious again and stops. And we hear the wind blowing down the hallway. And she continues on. And then she rounds a corner and is confronted by Frank. And she asks what he's doing. And he tells her that he is patrolling the halls. Despite not having his job, he still enjoys the thrill of the hunt. So they share a moment of mutual appreciation for stalking prey. These two are fucking weird.
I love both of their performances in this scene, too.
Yeah,
It's just, it's spot on.
Yeah. She tells him that she must go. She's had a freshman, I think. She's had a freshman in her office for 45 minutes with no explanation. So fucked up. And Frank has a minor orgasm imagining the students' rising anxiety. imagining the students' rising anxiety. He's so like, anyway. So he asks to come with, and she acquiesces after a moment. So they're back together.
Yep.
So outside, Parker, Mikey, and Jerry are walking along in the rain, of course, under an umbrella with Kubiac. I wonder if there was originally supposed to be a scene in the rain, or if they were finally just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Get
We're
some
just going to
umbrellas,
shoot the
just gotta
goddamn
shoot it.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
He thanks them and tells them he loves them more than fried foods, except maybe pork rinds. And then the same vehicle from earlier in the episode approaches, and once again, Ryan Stiles emerges. He announces that Kubiac has won the Field and Heifer sweepstakes. When Kubiac asks if that makes him a millionaire again, Ryan Stiles laughs very loudly.
Yes.
Tells him no, but that he is now the proud owner of a Texas Longhorn. And Kubiac has presented his Longhorn. And I love someone off camera yells, "Hey man, have a cow."
That's great.
So silly. Yeah, it's great. It's a funny joke. Kubiac asks if it comes with fries. As Parker in VO explains that historically, man has been defined by his quest for money. Then there's our friend Larry Kubiac, the man, the myth, the stomach. And we cut back to our end credit gag. In this case, the arcade is now empty as Jerry approaches the game cabinet. He drops in his quarter, and when the game starts up, a robotic voice says, "Oh no, not Steiner, we surrender." Jerry smiles in victory.
The robot voice is great too.
Yeah. Yeah, what that the game just gives up.
What have you got to say for yourselves?
That was a fun one. Again, like you say, like it's just a shame that they're up against production schedule. It's like you got to shoot, rain or shine, and shooting out here in California, it's like for the most part you get pretty lucky because there's very little rain. But if you're shooting in January or February, there's going to be some rain, and you just have to work around it. But yeah,
it didn't really detract from anything. It just sort of like was, you get that vibe, when it's cloudy outside, and I've noticed as I've gotten older that I have appreciate, psychologically appreciate sunny days a lot more, you know, and I'm kind of bummed out on rainy days. So watching something like this, you get like the low key vibes from it. Just like,
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's a shame. It's still a really fun episode, but it's just that little bit. It's like, oh, damn, it could have, could have been sunny. Yeah.
There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun Kubiac stuff in here.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the damn giraffe thing was,
I love that, man.
Hilarious. Yeah. It starts off it's a very cartoony episode, with him, standing behind the tree with a fishing line, like,
fishing for a pizza and a sheep.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, the whole thing is just like it's gut busting. It can make you sick if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, to see him just eating so much shit, But I did like the, his behavior when he was rich. He did exactly what you would expect. He just,
Here, have $100.
Yeah, he's got no control over his eating habits. He's got no control over his spending habits. He's just, he's a walking id, or whatever. So,
but also, he just wants people to be happy. So he's throwing parties. He's buying stuff for people. He's giving them money.
And it's nice at the end when it's nice at the end when he tells those guys he loves them more than fried food. It's a very these guys are all buddies. Episode, which may not be the case, 2 weeks from now. Who knows?
Right.
But
but he's that honorary fourth bud.
Yeah.
On the next Synchronize Swatches.
Season 1, Episode 20, Randall Without a Cause. Mikey's always the wild one of the gang, and temptation to leave them is always present. When some older guys offer Mikey a spot in their crew, he can't refuse. Good intentions and logic go out the window, and Mikey finds himself on the wrong side of the law with his new gang. True friends will stick by you, and Parker and Jerry must help out their friend. Mikey might have bitten off more than he can chew, though, as saving his own skin involves ratting out his new friends. Oh, God, Lord. I really didn't like that one. That was I was tripping all over that.
They didn't do a good job with that one.
No, that was clumsy as hell.
That one actually has a review from somebody on there, too. But not many of these have, user reviews, but that one actually has one.
Oh, okay. Mikey is a rebel without applause?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on a second. Let's read that. Come on, stupid. Go away. All right, so this is a review. One of the recurring themes in the show is Mikey's breaking out to do his own thing. I'm not incredibly fond of these episodes because it always requires Mikey to burn Parker and Jerry, and yet they always stick by him. I realize that the true friend thing is to stick by each other through thick and thin, but after burning your buds over and over, you have to draw the line. On the upside, I've always dug the clothing style of the early 90s, and things such as Sammy's biker jacket are just plain cool. The man who wears the most hats in the episode, Sergeant Melman,
I forgot
also
about
makes
Sergeant Melman.
the episode more lively. All in all, the moral of the story, all in all, the moral story of the episode is a good one. Everything seems sound, though. It'd just be nice if Mikey learned his lesson once and for all. But oh well.
Well, let me point out one thing.
Yeah.
That this fucking review was left on June 27th, 2007.
Oh wow.
This fucking thing is almost 18 years ago.
Wow. Oh man.
Where are you, Vex 86 Bird? Are you still out there? Oh,
Melman, though, I forgot. Yeah. So, and you know, it's weird because like there was a reference to Melman in one of the early episodes about the
Right.
bum who froze to the sidewalk or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, what was the deal? Like
he froze his face to the sidewalk. Yeah.
And they called it. They said his name was Melman.
Yeah.
But also, I want to say that there's a writer, a director.
Yeah.
That pops in that's actually named Melman. I'm like, did they just
Yeah.
steal his name and just making all these like in jokes with his name?
Yeah. Or it's the same guy, maybe. Sergeant Melman is down on his luck at some point.
Yeah.
It's Charles Rocket, right? Isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really funny in this one.
My brother's a dead man.
My friend Jerry said you guys were going to do something really neat today.
We'll rate that a G.